I've really gone and done it. Committed to the most stressful thing ever. Today is officially the beginning of making my wedding dress. If you missed it, I got engaged and I'm getting married next month. Now some might think that that is a quick turnaround, which I guess in the scheme of a normal wedding, yeah, it kind of is. But we've been together for 14 years. It's something that we've always talked about and we've always been so excited about. This year just felt like the first year where we're not going to be like stressed and taken up time by like renovating or like doing this thing over there or putting money into other things. So let's finally do it and enjoy it and have time and space to be able to take it in. And then we're kind of sitting one night and we're like, should we just book this Airbnb? Should we just get eloped? And then we did. So we've had our big engagement party. We still got to celebrate with everyone. And then now we're running off with our immediate family and confessing our love for each other. And then I have stupidly said I'm going to make my own dress. I've publicly announced it. I've told my family. I've bought the fabric. I'm too deep now. I've got to do it. Actually, I could definitely make a whole nother video about this. So this would be a great scenario for you to leave any questions below about the process of approaching our wedding. We're trying to be as mindful and conscious and low impact as possible, even though we're definitely not doing it perfectly, but we're doing our best. We've sourced many things secondhand, and in my mind, I thought going into this process that I would probably just get a secondhand dress and upcycle it or just love it as it is. And I just haven't been able to find the one. I guess we have had a shorter window of preparing, so maybe if I did have more time, I could have found the one, but here we are. Actually, we've done pretty well with sourcing secondhand. All of Darcy's outfit, even my shoes and my accessories, styling pieces for the table. We're upcycling materials to make plinths. We've got secondhand artificial flowers. There is an abundance of secondhand wedding stuff out there. It's literally, for some people, just one day. And then they generally get rid of it. Think of all those one-day events that are happening that you could reuse stuff for someone else's one-day event. Rant. I could go on forever. Truly. We're going very DIY as well. So if you have any questions around any of the DIYs that you see from the wedding, the sourcing, the inspiration, the mood boarding, the making, leave all your comments below and maybe I can do a little wedding roundup extravaganza. Anyway, let's get stuck into it. When I say let's get into it, this is what I mean. I think for this video, I'm just going to share what comes together with my mock-up dress, my toile, whatever we want to professionally call it, because I am using a pattern. I'll link it below, I guess, if you're intrigued. It is a Vogue pattern, V1032. So I guess once I realized I couldn't really find what I wanted secondhand, if you've seen my stuff before, you probably know that I mainly self-draft or upcycle stuff, but the thought of playing around with shapes and randomly cutting into fabric in masses for a big dress kind of scared me. So I did end up searching around for a pattern and something that I guess I could use as a base and alter if need be. And this one I generally liked as is. The only detail I'm going to change is potentially adding sleeves on. I just adore long sleeve wedding dresses. So the pattern has arrived. I've cut out all the pieces and this is where we're at. Amazing. You can probably see all the chaos of the plinths and the cricket and all the other DIY situations going on in between making a wedding dress. I love the chaos. I have never done anything like this before, as in like made something to this scale and probably a little bit more detail. It's going to be the biggest DIY project I've ever done for my biggest day of my life thus far. No pressure. Okay, I'm probably just gonna time lapse me cutting these out and I can just talk over the top so you can have something to look at other than my face. Because this is feeling very large, I'm trying to just break it down into bite-sized pieces. So the other day, my goal was just to cut out the pattern. I've done that. Now today I am cutting out the material. So I'm actually using lace for my final dress. For the trial dress, I have tried to, I guess, find a lightweight lace simulating material from my existing stash so I can just use up what I already have. And I'm now going to cut out all the panels. The only thing is I definitely don't have enough of all of this material for all of these panels. But that's fine because my main goal for this is just to get the sizing right. That's one thing that I have had a problem with patterns before, is that I measure myself out, I cut it to the certain size that it says that I'm going to be, and then things will just, you know, sit weirdly in spots that I didn't expect to, or I've maybe over cut it or la-di-da. So I think that's why I do lean towards self-drafting, because you kind of can just adapt it to your body, whereas a pattern, it feels very fixed. Patterns kind of scare me in that way. Today's goal, I'm going to cut out as much of this fabric as I can, and then I can start assembling over the coming days. It's actually been a little while since I have worked on the dress. We got distracted by making the plinths and then getting all the signage done, but the next few days are purely dedicated to the dress. So I'm going to do the final touches on the mock-up, make sure it's fitting how I want it to, and then we're going to dive into cutting up the lace. But something exciting that happened in the meanwhile, I got a package, and I'm pretty positive this is my veil. Live reaction. I was stressed for a moment there wasn't a clip, but there is. So the vision for this is I've been obsessed with the cathedral length veils and then the lace trim around the edge. I was at one point maybe avoiding the lace trim because my dress is lace and I was worried it would be too much lace, but then as I kept pinning inspiration, I was like, you know what? Stuff it. Let's go overboard lace. I think you can go abundant with lace. We saw that with Lily Collin, is that her name? The girl from Emily in Paris. She did like double lace on lace, and also just got other inspiration pieces on my Pinterest board, and I'm not mad about it. I was looking for secondhand veils and I came across a few secondhand ones, and then this lady had an ad up on Marketplace and she makes them. So I inquired and I got this for 70 bucks. And I feel like if you look up close, it probably does look a bit handmade. I could probably chop a few bits where I'm like, not great. I wonder if she glued it on. Lace long sleeve dress, V-cut front. Still figuring out the final hairstyle. I've just never connected with my hair being up on my wedding day. I've always imagined it being down. So whether that's like a half updo or fully down, like a little wave throughout it, I need to figure that out. But this, I would love if it could like sit a little bit kind of high. So then it kind of sits like this. Oh my God, so pretty. That's why I kind of feel like the half updo might help this stay in place, because it needs to be like up there for it to have this overflowing of the side of the head and over the shoulders. But then you can also like push it back. I don't know, I gotta see it on with the final dress, I guess. I feel like everything is starting to hit me and I'm getting so excited. Okie dokie, let's get into the sewing. I think where we last left off, all the fabric pieces for the mock-up dress was done and cut out and ready to go. Now I've just kind of like laid down the matching pieces and I'm assembling it in an attempt to follow the instructions. I did a once through read through, everything seems to make sense. I've matched up the pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew the first section. Based on this, we're gonna be focusing on the top section first. So I'm going to sew together all the matching pieces, good sides facing, where it tells me to sew. When I'm following along a pattern, I feel like it's not as exciting or value adding for you guys because I'm not really giving you a tutorial of how to make it because there's already a guide on how to do that. I guess I'm just sharing my learnings and you can see the ups and downs of following a pattern, and then also there are elements throughout this where I am going to be adjusting it. So maybe that's some little handy tips that you can get from this. I feel like the fit of this around the hips is going to be quite snug, which I'm not against, but I would love to just try it on and see if there are any slight adjustments I can make so it is a little bit more free flowing in areas that I personally like it to be. So if it's hugging from like the waist kind of to the beginning of the hips, then I would like it to flow out a little bit more from there. Hopefully this test one will help me figure out where that begins. Normally I'm happy to just go through and make edits as I go, but it feels scary when it's your wedding dress. I feel like I would rather have everything pre-mapped out so when it comes to cutting out the actual material, I'm not wasting anything. This fabric is much more delicate and fray-y, is that the word, compared to my final fabric. My lace that I've chosen has actually a little bit of stretch, so it'll definitely be interesting to see if the stretch comes into play with the fit. Ideally, you'd probably make the mock-up from stretch or similar material, but I really just wanted to use what I already had, and this had literally been in my sewing pile for like years. Ooh, okay. This bit's the scary part. Let me bring you closer. I don't know if you can tell, but essentially that is probably not really the best thing to be trying stuff on over the top. The back panel, which covers half because there's going to be an open center back, and this is the front half. As you can see, the boobies are not currently covered. And that's where this comes into play. That is eventually going to go in there and it's going to be lined. And then I'm going to keep the, I guess like upper chest area into the sleeves and the back top area. I'm going to make that all like this, just single layered and kind of like see-through, transparent, whatever you want to call it. And then lining will cover the skirt area and the waistline as well. There's also darts that I need to add, which I'm going to see what it looks like with darts. Unless I desperately need it in to help it shape around like the armholes or other areas, I do try and avoid darts around the bust. Sometimes I think it just looks forced, especially if you don't have boobs and it's like creating a shape that actually isn't there. That's actually a problem that I came up with when I was trying on wedding dresses. So many of the corset styles or things that were a bit more structured were trying to create a form or a shape of body that just wasn't mine, and it felt like they were like sitting out too far up here or like trying to hug in at certain areas. I was like, I just want it to like drape over my body how it is. which is what led me to making my own dress. Just get scared adding a layer in that has a pointed edge up the top, front, center area for everyone to see, because I feel like it can just easily, what's the word? Oh my god, what is the word? I swear whenever I start filming, like words escape me. Who knows? Essentially, it can look a bit bunched up in areas that you don't want it to. So, am I going to pre-pin? Probably. Grab a few clips. We're just going to focus on this layer first. I'm going to start from the top and sew one side and then go back to the top point and then sew back down there. I feel if I start here, it could like shift. I don't know. I just get worried things are going to move. Let me see if this makes sense. Makes sense in my head. So that's there. I want it to be added in like that. If I just fold that over so it's good sides facing, line those edges, and then when I go to add the other sides, maybe I'll do that side first because I've got quite a bit over there. Put that together, and there. Okay, this is looking promising. So I'll just sew one clean line there, and then eventually flip it over and do the next clean line there. That'll be up there. Eventually that ends up turning around. Is it just one of those things I just go for it? Or is going for it not a good idea? Honestly, it kind of makes sense. This is the hard thing, like I'm trying to interpret what they mean. With every written instruction, there's like one infographic, which I'm like, there's so many little moving compartments to this one step. I feel like one little infographic really doesn't help. We need a video. That looks promising. Let me give you a close-up of what's going on. So this is the front panel, this is the back panel. This needs to slide into there. And what I'm thinking is flip that over. That's now facing good sides facing, which is how it needs to be joined. Pin that, lock that in place. Everything's kind of got like a 1 to 1.5 centimeter seam allowance. So I'll start sewing pretty much in line with the tip from there. Continue the seam allowance all the way down. And then when it comes to the next phase, that's what always scares me, is turning corners. Ideally you do the same thing on this side, but now it's joined to here. So you've got to figure out how to then manipulate it and fold it over there. It does say in the pattern you can cut a little, I don't know what they called it, like a little guideline or something. This fabric is very frayed, so I'm kind of trying to avoid doing that, but maybe with the next fabric it might help. If I cut up to kind of to where that sewing line is, then it will allow me to bend it a little bit nicer. I don't know if any of that made sense, but let's see how this goes. What the heliante? Where are we? Here we go. Me acting like it makes sense. Stressful. I really need to get a watch so I can monitor my heartbeat and stress levels when I'm sewing. Okay, looking good. Now we need to like somehow flip this side so it's good sides facing. I just love patterns. Yeah, just sew it this way. Like, cool, okay. I'll just do that. I'm gonna get really pedantic and sew like an extra ½ a centimeter at the beginning, if that. So it's more on top of the V. Okay, hopefully that'll help. Puckering, is that the word? Yeah. 1 hour later, remembering the word. This is what scares me about pointy bits like this. If you overlap it in the wrong ways, then it puckers. The only puckering I want is the lips of my fiance at the end of the aisle. Wow. No, I actually want to cry. Why? Things will be like flat in one area, but then not in the next. Why are you actually trying to ruin my life? Does my theory just suck and there's other ways to do this? Like, what doing? Oh my god, okay, is this a hack? I'm gonna put a needle in, lift the foot. Let's flatten out everything. Okay. Are things looking hopeful? Only time will tell. No guys, surely. Wait, I think you need to see my face reaction to this. Okay. Did my little hack of putting the needle in and flattening out all the fabric underneath it work? Please, please. It's definitely curved it out a little bit, but there's no puckering. And that to me is an absolute success. Thank you. That was risque. How would you even do that in one go? But you'd still get to the same point of that just being absolute chaos up in the top tip. I'm definitely like a hobbyist, is that the word? Hobbyist sewer. Like all I've ever sewn is fun little outfits for myself. Learned and tried to evolve as I go. So when it comes to a little bit more detailed or formal finishes, it does scare me, and that's why I have avoided it. You know, why not just throw yourself in the deep end for your wedding dress? What could possibly go wrong? I'm happy with that. I'm gonna try iron some of these edges so it flattens them a bit, and then I'm gonna add in the lining. And again, in the instructions they're pretty much like, yeah, just, you know, throw her in there. I'm like, okay, but like, how? Yeah, it literally just says stitch pivoting at small circles, press seam towards bodice front. For the lining, turn in seam allowance on upper edges of remaining bodice. Based through all construction lines. I don't want to. I'm gonna take free rein at this point. Pretty much, I think I'm gonna attach the lining to the seam allowance in here. Line it up, zigzag stitch all the raw edges, so it's kind of like helping clean it up as well as join it at the same time. Maybe fold the raw edges towards the lining, and then maybe I can iron it down and it will sit in the underlining area. Why wouldn't we just add it all at once? That's what I'm confused about. Did I miss a step? Probably. Oh, well, I'm essentially just doing it after now. Still thoroughly confused, but optimistic. I think for the real dress, I'm definitely leaning towards attaching the lining and the outer material together, especially for this cup area and the waistband. I might leave it separate for the bottom skirt area. I just feel like it's gonna really help this step when it comes to having to actually do it in real time. Again, I don't think this material is helping in any way, just frayed down. I'm gonna go zigzag. That's just been added to the edge of the seam allowance. I mean, ideally you'd like sew that onto the lining so it just sits flat. But then I'm like, how do you even access that now? I mean, I can sew up to a certain point on just the lining. Let's try do that. I'm gonna fold the seam allowance onto the lining, even if I get to like there and that bit just gets ironed over or like hand stitched somehow. She's not the worst from the front. The inside though, that's questionable. Anyway, where these points are, that's where the darts are going to go. So I'll fold it good sides, pointing at those, and sew from the underside. I think I might try and do them a tiny bit smaller than what they've kind of got there. See how we go. Let me give that a little iron to flatten it out, and then I'm gonna do all the same on the other side. Okay, so now we've got this top, front and back area. You've also got these like waistband areas. I think now we prep the skirt. Who bloody knows? We're officially down to joining all the bottom pieces, and then maybe, what do we do? I don't really get why we do that, but okay. I'm gonna sew the 3 front sides, and then I'll sew the 3 back sides, and then I join the front and the back together. This is all just laying things good side facing and sewing big long straight lines. Okay, I can definitely do that. Got the back panel laying with the good sides facing up, and now I'm going to start joining the back panels to the front, but I think we're keeping the two back sides separate because we'll be adding a zip down the back, I assume. So then that will face that. And then I'll sew down these long edges. Definitely intrigued to see if these fit my hips. I'm not being hopeful. I don't know, this is what patterns confuse me. I feel like I was a size like 12 in some areas, but then a size 10 in others. I guess we'll find out. Oh my god. Well, yesterday got very dark, figuratively and literally. A few clouds rolled over and it just got very bad conditions for filming, and I just wanted to finish getting it done. And look, you could say I got to the final step. Did it come together exactly how I wanted it to? Not really. And I started spiraling because little details were annoying me, which is where we're at today. The garment's pretty much done. I'll pop it on and I'll show you how it turns out and how it fits. And then I'm gonna go through and note everything I'm gonna do different for my real dress, because I feel like there are areas we can definitely refine. Guys, I even went all the way and added a zip. I grabbed some tights from home so I could wear them underneath. Okay, so let's go through the list of things that I hate about it. Are you gonna see the dress? Do I need to move the camera? Probably. I just love that I'm making a wedding dress in between all of this chaos. My theory about the darts around this bralette area proved to be right. It's creating shapes that just aren't there. I know that I did those darts a bit bigger, so they're definitely pointing out more. Those ones I did less. I'm not hating it, but I'm also not loving it. Like, once it's actually all sitting flat under there, will it help having it a little bit? Just to be safe, I might leave them, but I'm gonna do them like half the size. So they're subtly creating some shape, but not as much shape as they're intended to. So I'm literally writing these notes down. Okay, within this region, I left the center V-neck section just completely untouched because I still need to figure out how I'm going to finish it on the final dress. I think the pattern usually uses 2 layers. It doesn't end up having that see-through effect that I'm going for. With the 2 layers, they could create an inner seam which created a nice clean finish there. I don't want that. So I have a few options. One is to do a double rolled hem for, again, a wedding dress. A double rolled hem along the neckline. Nothing wrong with it, but it means you're going to see a sewing line there and also the fold of the fabric. I'm not obsessed with that idea, but I'm not against it if I need to. Alternatively, a lace trim that kind of finishes off the whole neckline edge. I'm like, will that look good integrated though? I think I kind of need to figure that out before I start joining it. And I could do the same on the end of the sleeves, but I'm actually feeling like I'm okay for a double rolled hem on the end of the sleeves. So that's kind of going to be something I need to figure out as I'm cutting the panels on the real dress and also assembling it. Lace trim or hem neckline. And then these little waistband areas, they were a bit of a nightmare to put together. Actually simple to add together, but I think just the fit of them and the construction method wasn't it. To make things easier for myself, I'm going to add a little bit of length to the center back, just because I also am worried that the stretch material, the lengths of areas could change, and I'd rather have a little bit more than not enough if need be. And also, you add all of these side panels at different points, so therefore, you know, things naturally move around. So all the side seams along here have staggered, and it's worse on one side than it is the other side, and I don't like that. Like, this side seam of the waistband is so far off the side seam of the top panel. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to completely change the attachment method and steps. So essentially you end up adding all of the front panels together, all of the back panels together, and then you can add this whole side seam in one go, so it creates one clean seam line. I hate that it's all at different points, and I think that is something that I hate in patterns and some steps of even self-drafting sometimes, is assuming that things are just going to perfectly line up. Through my journey of sewing, things happen when you're cutting out, or things move as you're sewing it together. That's just naturally what happens. And like, even if you do pin it in place and make sure it is perfectly where you want it to be. So instead of stressing about getting all of those bits perfect as you go, allow for change and movement, even if they still end up being a little bit staggered in length when you go to join them, and then clean it up all in one go. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's just me anyway. So I think as well doing it separately will help me to be able to adjust it as I go. Attach front all together, then back, then sides last. Yeah, also if you can't tell by the bottom of this, I think I mentioned that I had to just use the lengths that I had available with this fabric. There's going to be a much larger train and I think much more flow at the front, which will be exciting to see on the final dress. Okay, speaking of fit, this top panel fit is actually nice. So I know I don't need to change it and everything can kind of flow from there. I feel like it gets very tight around the hips. Keeping in mind I am going to be having a layer of lining underneath this. So I've just made sure to note that I'm going to add probably 1 centimeter to every side panel. So all up I'll be getting up an extra 4 centimeters because there'll be this side, this side, this side and this side all getting added 1 centimeter. I won't need to add it at the top. It's actually quite well fitted around my waist. As soon as it gets to my hips and my butt, she starts to get a little bit tight. Like I actually ripped a little bit before when I was bending over. I mean, this is delicate fabric. I'm going to ease it out there. And like I mentioned before, now that the side panel is going to be my last sewing line, I'll sew it as I've cut the panels, try it on, and then I can kind of like pin and tuck and really tailor it to my body because I would love, I could really pull that in at the waist and then let it flow from the hips. Beautiful. And then we come to the shoulders. This style of dress is meant to just be an open shoulder or like singlet tank toppy style. So it cuts in really beautifully up here, which if this was how it was finishing, I would be very happy with that. But I'm planning on adding sleeves. I'm just going to note to add probably about 2 to 3 centimeters or 1 inch at the very top and then ease it out to the existing armhole because I think that's actually quite nice there. And I'll end up losing about like 1 centimeter once I get seam out. So it'll sit really nicely once the sleeve is added in. I just think that's too inset up the top, so push that out a little bit, and then once I've got that all cut to size, then I can create the sleeve based on the size of the armhole. I'd rather have a little bit more than need be, so I'm going to go, let's go 3 centimeters to top edge of armhole, and I'm also maybe going to add like 1 centimeter to the height of it just because I feel like it could sit a little bit lower, or is it sitting perfect? I don't know. I'm going to add 1 centimeter. If need be, I can always take it away. Top shoulder seam. But everything else, it's got that flow. Oh my God, imagine when it has a train. Wait, I think I pulled this out before to emulate a sleeve. I'm thinking like a bit of a fitted sleeve. There were points where I thought a bell sleeve or a bit of a puffy sleeve. I just think a sleek, slim fit, extra long sleeve so it kind of literally goes up to my fingers. I just want to eat that up. Delectable. Oh my God, I'm obsessed. Yum, 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 yum. Imagine this being all white lace, lined for the skirt area, and then this sleeve and chest area will be see-through apart from the bralette panel. Are we seeing the vision? Knowing that I'm trying a yellow dress on out of a completely different material, I'll forgive you if it's hard to envision right now. Holy dooly, okay. Mock dress is done, notes are done. I'm gonna lay out the fabric and start creating my actual wedding dress. That will probably be a whole new video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed coming along this journey of the beginnings of my wedding dress. It's actually under I think it's like 10 days away from my wedding. This is such type B behavior, but I've got the next 3 days dedicated to making my dress. And this took me like 4 or 5 scattered days. So if I have 3 full days dedicated to it, we'll be fine. Okay, see you in the next video.